Introduction. Modern physics works. That is not in dispute. General relativity predicts gravity with extraordinary precision. Quantum theory describes matter and interaction with unmatched accuracy. Cosmology maps the large-scale structure of the universe with increasing confidence. None of this is being rejected here. Humble theory of everything begins from the opposite position, that our existing theories are remarkably successful, and that this success deserves to be taken more literally than we often allow. What this book proposes is not a new force, particle, or equation. It proposes a reordering of causality. Specifically, it asks a deceptively simple question. What if space-time geometry is not merely shaped by matter, but exists as a prior constraining architecture that matter and motion inhabit? In other words, what if gravity is not primarily a local exchange mediated by mass, but a global, non-cancelling geometric terrain that organizes everything else? This idea is not introduced as metaphor. Throughout this book, wells, ridges, cones, basins, folds, and horizons are treated as geometric primitives, not illustrations. The language is visual because geometry is visual, but the claims remain grounded in established physics. General relativity is accepted in full. Special relativity is preserved without modification. Observational cosmology is respected. Where interpretation diverges, it does so carefully, and only where existing theory leaves room. A recurring theme of this work is restraint. Dark matter, dark energy, cosmogenesis, and quantum gravity are not rushed into service as explanatory shortcuts. Instead, each domain is isolated, examined, and, when necessary, set aside until the geometric foundation is secure. This structure is deliberate. If the geometric premises fail, nothing that follows should survive. If they hold, much that appears mysterious becomes structurally unsurprising. This book is organized as a sequence of short, focused papers rather than a single, uninterrupted argument. Each paper is designed to stand alone, with clear scope limits and explicit boundaries. Speculative ideas are labeled as such and quarantined from core claims. Defensive papers are included not to provoke, but to prevent confusion. The goal is not persuasion by accumulation, but clarity through separation. The intended audience is broad, but the expectations are precise. No advanced mathematics is required, but patience is. No prior allegiance to any interpretation is assumed, but readers are asked to follow the logic where it leads. Teenagers curious about the universe, engineers comfortable with structure, philosophers concerned with causality, and physicists attentive to consistency should all find a way in. Above all, this book does not argue that current science is wrong. It argues that it may be incomplete in how it tells its own story. The equations already work. What may be missing is the recognition that geometry is not just a result but a rule. If that inversion is correct even partially, then gravity is not an actor among others. It is the stage itself. What follows is an attempt to take that possibility seriously, carefully, humbly, and without claiming more than the terrain allows. Unifying principle, the spine of the framework. At the deepest level, this framework is unified by a single ordering principle. Terrain determines tension. Gravity establishes the geometric architecture of space-time first. All other phenomena arise as responses to that architecture rather than as competing causes. Forces do not construct the stage on which they act. They operate within constraints already set by geometry. Light does not shape the terrain, it traces it. Time does not exist as a universal backdrop. It emerges where structure can persist. Matter does not impose order on space. It harmonizes with the curvature it inhabits. This ordering is not speculative. It is implicit in general relativity and made explicit by respecting scale, stability, and coherence. In this view, gravity is not merely one interaction among others, but the global constraint that makes interaction possible at all. Electromagnetic strong and weak forces express local behavior inside gravitationally permitted regions. They dominate where gravity has relaxed enough to allow complexity, and they fail where gravity overwhelms structure. This explains why forces appear hierarchically separated by scale, without requiring them to be hierarchically fundamental. The hierarchy is geometric, not ontological. Light serves as the universe's diagnostic instrument. Because photons follow null geodesics without significantly altering curvature, they reveal space-time structure with exceptional fidelity. Lensing, redshift, and time delay are not secondary effects layered onto motion. They are direct readings of terrain. What we observe is not light being acted upon, but geometry making itself visible. Time, likewise, is not an independent substance that flows uniformly everywhere. It is an emergent measure of change, where gravitational conditions allow stable sequencing, where curvature is gentle, processes unfold, and clocks advance. Where curvature deepens, temporal progression compresses. Where structure collapses, time loses operational meaning. Gravity does not bend time as an external agent. It determines where time can exist coherently at all. Matter occupies this terrain by alignment rather than dominance. It gathers in basins, avoids ridges, concentrates in cones, and disperses where stabilization thresholds are unmet. What appears as dark matter or dark energy in conventional language is, in this framework, often a misreading of inherited geometry rather than evidence of exotic substances. The map is being mistaken for missing occupants. This is why the framework is intentionally humble. It does not seek to replace equations, unify forces by compression, or claim access to ultimate ontology. It reorders causality without rejecting established physics. It privileges stability over elegance, coherence over reduction, and description over declaration. Where other theories attempt to explain everything by flattening structure, this one explains structure by respecting why it cannot be flattened. The unifying principle, then, is not a new force or field, but a disciplined refusal to invert causality. Geometry first, response second, illumination third, meaning last. The universe is not unified by erasing its layers, but by understanding why those layers exist at all.